Tonight, something happened in the silver market that does not show up on your chart. Two different industrial buyers, first from China, then from India, reached across the ocean and tried to buy physical silver straight from a mine at a premium that made the so-called spot price look like a joke. Not because they wanted a better deal, because they wanted metal now. And when real buyers start paying $8 to $10 over paper, it means one thing: the paper price is losing control of the story. I'm your host, and you're watching our channel, where we don't gamble, we measure. Now watch this. A producing silver operation in Peru, fresh into production, gets a call late in the week, then another the next day. The buyers aren't coin shops. They aren't collectors. They aren't speculators. They're end users. The kind of companies that need silver like lungs need oxygen. And they're not negotiating through the usual middlemen anymore. They're trying to bypass the pipeline. They're trying to go direct. That's the event. That's what actually happened. So the question for us is simple and uncomfortable. If they're paying up to grab silver at the source, what do they know that the market is pretending not to see? Because here's the mistake most people make. They treat silver like a price, like a number on a screen. But silver is not a number. Silver is a material, a component, a critical input for industries that don't get to say, oh, well, guess we'll skip production this quarter. If you build solar panels, you don't pause because silver is tight. If you build electronics, you don't wait because premiums are rising. You hunt, you secure supply. You pay what you have to pay. And that is exactly what these calls were: a hunt. Fact, multiple buyers contacted a producer and offered a premium above the prevailing market quote for immediate or contracted physical supply. Interpretation: that's not normal behavior in a calm, well-supplied market. Now, the first wave came from China, and one of those buyers was tied to the solar supply chain. That matters, because solar doesn't care about narratives. Solar cares about inputs. Solar is a conveyor belt, and silver is one of the gears. Take out the gear, the belt stops. Then it happens again. An Indian firm comes in offering a similar premium, low 80s for an ounce when paper was sitting in the low to mid 70s. That spread, $8, $9, $10, isn't a little noise. It's a flare in the night, and it forces the question we're not supposed to ask. Is the market pricing the wrong silver? Because there are two silvers living in the same room. There's paper silver, the casino chip, and there's physical silver, the metal that actually gets used. When the chip price says 74, but the metal price says 83, that's not a call market, that's a split market. Two worlds, two rules, and we need to decide which world is real. One clean disclaimer because we manage risk. This is educational, not financial advice. Good. Now, what makes this moment explosive is who is calling. We're talking about major industrial regions. Asia, where demand is structural. China sits at the center of manufacturing. India sits at the center of fabrication and consumption. Different demand engines, same metal. So when both reach for the same supply at the same time, you don't shrug. You pay attention, because shortages show up first in behavior, in weird phone calls, in unusual premiums, in buyers asking for direct offtake. That's the smoke. Now, why would an end user pay $8 to $10 over paper? We don't need 20 reasons. We need a few, and we need them deep. Takeaway one, the paper quote may be lagging the physical reality. If a buyer can't source metal through normal channels fast enough, they start pricing urgency. Urgency is expensive, and urgency spreads. Takeaway two, middlemen might be the bottleneck. If wholesalers or distributors are slow, constrained, or simply out of metal, buyers don't wait politely. They go around. They call the mine. They lock in flow before everyone else wakes up. Takeaway three, industrial demand isn't optional. Jewelry can pause, coins can pause, but industrial lines are built on throughput. A manufacturer cannot say, we'll build fewer units because silver is tight. They have contracts, they have deadlines. So when industrial demand leans in, it leans in hard. Takeaway four, this behavior often hints at regional tightness that can ripple globally. If one region pulls metal hard enough, something somewhere gets thinner. Thin systems crack under stress. Now hold this contradiction in your mind. The paper market can show plenty while the physical market shows stress. Both can exist at the same time because paper is leverage, physical is constraint. Paper can expand with a keystroke. Physical cannot. So when physical buyers start acting like they're late to the party, we should ask, are we closer to the end of normal than people think? Put yourself in their shoes. Imagine you run procurement for a solar manufacturer. Your factory is a furnace. Every day it needs raw material, not next month. Today, quotes take longer. Delivery windows widen. You don't tweet about it. You pick up the phone and you call upstream. You call the producer. You say, I will pay you $83 if you give me the ounces and you give them to me directly. That's not speculation. That's survival. Why Peru? because it's origin. And when buyers start chasing production at origin, they're trying to shorten the chain. Shorter chain, fewer points of failure. Fewer points of failure, we earn but higher certainty. Higher certainty, on higher premium. And that premium tells us what the chain feels like right now. It feels fragile, not necessarily broken, but fragile systems don't need a big shock. They just need a small shove at the wrong moment. A shipping delay, a refinery bottleneck, a big buyer deciding they're done waiting. Any one of those can tip a tight market into a disorderly one. And here's the next open loop. If this producer got called, how many other producers got called the same week? Because one buyer admitted they were talking to other mines too. That's not a one-off, that's a sweep. And sweeps are what you do when you're worried the store will run out. Now, what this doesn't mean, it doesn't automatically mean price to the moon tomorrow. We're not doing fake confidence, but it does suggest that physical scarcity signals may be strengthening. And if scarcity signals strengthen, the upside case strengthens. If industrial buyers keep competing for supply. Facts. Then interpretation, then conditional outcome. Let's define one concept in one line. Backwardation, when near-term metal is priced higher than later delivery. Why it matters. It often signals immediate tightness because people will pay extra to get metal now. Applied here, when premiums jump, the market is whispering, I need it today. And whispers become shouts fast. Now, the reason this story spreads is simple. It's visceral. People understand a buyer paid more because they couldn't get it. That's the same story as fuel, the same story as chips. And silver is sitting inside the energy and electronic stack. So the moment silver becomes scarce, it doesn't stay a niche problem. It becomes an everything problem. Now, let's stay practical. What do we do with this information? We do not panic. We do not chase hype. We watch for confirmation. If more producers report similar approaches, the pattern strengthens. If premiums stay elevated while paper stalls, the split widens. If industrial demand stays aggressive, the floor under physical tightness rises. And if any one of those cracks turns into a break, the market will reprice fast. Because silver is small, not in importance. In size, it doesn't take much incremental demand to move it. Now, let's connect this to the biggest silver vacuum on the planet, solar. Solar is not a hobby anymore. It's a national project. Panels are being pushed onto rooftops, deserts, warehouses, farms, everywhere. And silver is one of the tiny components that becomes a big problem when you scale by millions of units. One panel doesn't feel like much. A few grams here, a little paste there. But multiply that by factories running 24/7, and the demand stops being a line item. It becomes a drain you can hear. And when that drain meets a supply chain with choke points, the first symptom isn't a headline, it's a premium. Because premiums are the market's way of saying, we can't move enough metal fast enough. Now, here's another uncomfortable reality. Silver is not like iron. It's not like oil. It's a smaller pond. A handful of big buyers can splash and the water level changes. That's why these calls matter. They may look small on paper, just conversations, but behavior shifts happen before data updates. By the time reports admit tightness, the best positioning window is usually gone. And that's why we keep our eyes on real-time tells. Now, let's do one more explain like we're smart moment. An offtake agreement is basically a reservation. A buyer says, I want your future output. A producer says, fine, on these terms. Why it matters. Once future output is reserved, the spot market has less slack. Less slack means every surprise hurts more. A shipping delay hurts more. A refinery outage hurts more. A sudden surge in demand hurts more. And when surprises start hurting, markets don't glide. They gap. Now don't miss this. If multiple end users start reserving future output, the market can look calm until the moment it can't fill an order. Then the scramble begins. And scrambles don't send polite invitations. They send panic bids. Now we also have to talk about the human side, because this is where most people get manipulated. When volatility hits, the first weapon is confusion. A red candle here. A scary headline there. A nothing burger narrative. They want you to stare at the screen until your brain melts. Meanwhile, the real players are doing something boring, securing supply. They don't need your emotions. They need your ounces. So our job is to stay calm and keep asking the only question that matters. Can you get the metal at a normal premium on a normal timeline? If the answer starts drifting toward no, then the market is telling you the truth, even if the chart is lying. And if the answer stays yes, we respect that too. We don't force a story, we measure. Now, one last open loop before the ending. If China and India are already paying up at origin, what happens when a third region joins the hunt? What happens when another industrial sector, electronics, automotive components, power grids, decides they're not waiting either? Because the moment multiple sectors stack their urgency on top of each other, the premium becomes the price. And the paper quote becomes a suggestion. Hold that thought. Because if the next buyer is bigger than the last, the next call won't be quiet. It'll be loud enough that even the chart can't ignore it. Quick engagement check. I want you in the comments on this one. Question 1. If you were running procurement for a solar manufacturer, would you pay a $10 premium to lock supply? Or would you risk waiting for spot to come down? Question 2. Do you think the real shortage shows up first in the price chart or in the premiums and the phone calls? Drop your answers. We read them. We adjust our framework with the community. And while you're here, subscribe. Short and simple. Join us. Now let's talk about why this is happening right now, because timing is never random. Year-end is when inventories get classified and everyone pretends the warehouse is fine. But if you're short physical into the new year, you're not just embarrassed, you're exposed. And that's when buyers stop being polite and start asking for delivery. Paper silver is a menu. Physical silver is the food. You can argue about the menu price all night, but if the kitchen is out, the menu is useless. Those phone calls where the kitchen manager yelling, "We're out." Now, there's a reason China shows up first in these stories. China consumes silver in solar paste, electronics, connectors, contacts, places where it disappears, not where it sits. So when a Chinese industrial buyer pays up at origin, we should hear it like a hospital paying extra for oxygen. Not bullish. Necessary. India is a different engine. It has industry, but it also has fabrication and cultural demand. Silver moving through hands, not just machines. So when India shows up with the same urgency premium, that's not redundancy. That's confirmation from a second direction. 2 storms, 1 pressure system shifting. Now, here's where the illusion lives. Most people think the market is 1 pool, 1 price, 1 reality. Real supply chains are pipes, and pipes have choke points. Even if the world has enough in theory, a bottleneck can create a local drought. Local droughts create premiums. So when buyers circumvent the middle, it means the middle isn't solving the problem anymore. Now, a psychological trap. When people hear premium, they assume it's retail markup, but industrial premiums are about priority. Missing metal costs more than paying up. If you miss a shipment, you miss production. You miss revenue. You lose contracts. So the premium is not hype, it's insurance. Now, what would confirmation look like next? 1, more producers getting approached. 2, more end users signing direct offtake. 3, more talk of allocation from distributors. And 4, the most dangerous one, more volatility without news, because the system is trying to clear stress quietly. Here's the mini contradiction that keeps us honest. If physical is tight, why can paper still drop? Because paper is leverage. It's a battlefield. It can be used to scare you while physical stays firm. So if you see a dip on the screen, ask the better question. Did the metal get easier to buy? Or did only the quote change? Now, our posture. We're not here to chant slogans. We're here to measure. Fact. End users offered meaningful premiums to secure physical silver directly from a producing source. Inference. Some buyers perceived near-term delivery risk in standard channels. Conditional. If more buyers perceive the same risk, competition intensifies and premiums can persist. That's it. Now, I'm going to pull you into the room with me. Picture the moment a producer gets that call. They're in operations mode, equipment, payroll, logistics, and suddenly a buyer offers a big premium for output. That is the market tapping you on the shoulder saying, your product is scarce. And once producers realize that, their negotiating stance shifts. Across many producers, that shifts the whole chain. So I'll leave you with a warning and a promise. The warning. The next phase, if it comes, will be noisy. Paper volatility, loud opinions, and quiet actions behind the scenes that matter more. The promise. We will track the physical signals with you, premiums, delivery, availability, direct sourcing. Because if the smoke turns into fire, we won't see it on the menu. We'll see it in the kitchen. Stay close, stay sharp. Because the next update won't be a rumor. It'll be a contract. And once contracts start locking supply, the market doesn't get to pretend anymore.